Good morning. Again, thank you everyone who has been so gracious to share these and to get the word out and to raise up prayer for Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus. I can't say it enough. This is a horrific situation, but God always uses what the devil does for good. We keep saying this, and we're never going to be able to pray with faith that changes things as long as we're impressed with evil, we're impressed with darkness, we're impressed with tragedy. And so what our heart is to give you the tools to pray from hope, to pray. We're gonna talk about what's actually happening, the praises, the things. We got to start with praise. We got to start with seeing God's hand at work, and then we're going to be talking about the difficult places that we want to pray into. But then we're going to finally come to a prayer strategies, because God, it's not just enough to rout the enemy. Paul says it this way: we are more than conquerors, right? And so what that means is that we have to go to the heart of the Father, how he wants to turn everything the enemy is doing for the good of Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, for the people. And that actually we want to lean into his plans, because if you're just fighting the darkness, you actually end up just kind of paralyzed and stuck. But we need to lean in for God's plans. So just real quick, a lot of things really haven't changed since yesterday. Again, by and large, Ukraine is holding across the north. There is, and they are, over and over again, the number of airplanes that have been shot down, the number of tanks destroyed. They're saying upwards of 11,000 Russian soldiers killed. This is horrible, but it's also good for the war, right? Obviously, so many are laying down their arms. So many are surrendering. There's even again and again and again. There's so much happening, so many missiles, and yet so much limited loss of life. We have a report of 150 orphans getting evacuated out of Kharkov. So over and over again, God is protecting the weak and the innocent, and it's amazing. Again, the Russian army in the south has been stopped at Mykolaiv, so they can't complete the pincher action they're trying to do to encircle Odessa. This is amazing. The occupied cities of Sumy and Kherson and the encircled city of Mariupol, the people are not surrendering. In Kherson, where they're supposedly occupying, the people came out in mass and protested in the main square, and managed to even take over an armored personnel carrier and take it for a spin. When the Russians came out to deliver humanitarian aid, to do a little photo op, the people of Kherson rejected it outright. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Zelensky, one of the biggest things is Zelensky is still alive. There have been multiple, at least 3 that we know of, assassination attempts on him, and everyone got failed because people in the FSB, the Russian security force, of which that's Putin's baby, have turned and are actually providing intel to the Ukrainian government. Jesus, this is incredible. One of the funny ones is there was a piece of a missile landed in the front of the presidential palace, and he just said, "Hey, you missed." This is one of the huge blessings. There is, once in a generation or two, is there a voice that speaks with such clarity, such as a Winston Churchill or a Martin Luther King, about the moral quality of what's going on with such a power. And watching his message to the people of NATO, oh my gosh, he called them down. He did such an amazing job of revealing where they've been cowardly and they've been divided and self-serving, and he invited them to join on the right side. One of the great things is yesterday, he met with, his foreign minister met with Secretary of State Blinken on the Polish border, and helping to facilitate talks, because Poland is looking to it looks like is going to give planes to Ukraine. This is very, very important, because their Air Force, the Ukrainian Air Force, has been destroyed except for drones. But the drones have been effective. That convoy in the north is still stopped. Again, the Odessa amphibious landing has not been able to happen. Again, due to high winds, due to other factors, but it is the people of Ukraine. I watched a clip of they were trying to do it's so hard here in Odessa, and the people in Ukraine were doing sandbags and laughing and singing while they're doing it. The people are coming together. They're rising up. They're unified like never before. God is so good. And again, we talked about this, foreign reinforcements are coming in. One of the reports is the army from Belarus has not entered the war yet, even though they supposedly come across the border, because the Belarus soldiers refuse to fight. Jesus, this is incredible. All right, come on. So listen, mothers in Russia are finding out about their sons being captured, and they're putting it out on the remaining social media. Even though Facebook and all is shut down, the people are still using things like Odnoklassniki, VKontakte, which are social media things. The oligarchs are turning on Putin. We've talked about this before. One of the several of 6 of the key ones have turned, but Abramovich, the most Putin of all, he's the one who actually turned on the other oligarchs for Putin, has actually responded to a request from the Ukrainian government to be a mediator. This provides a direct contact with Putin in a meaningful way, because the delegation that went that came from Russia for the talks was nobody. I want to say there's been a report that one of the delegation has been killed. That's obviously that's horrible, but it also reveals the absolute just insanity that's going on here from Putin's side. Putin is continuing to isolate. One of the signs that he is desperate is he took an hour-long call with Erdogan, the president of Turkey. Man, Putin's got things to do. If he's spending an hour talking with Erdogan, it's obvious he's trying to figure out some way forward. He met at length with Prime Minister Naftali Bennett from Israel, who flew in for that. It's obvious he's trying to find solutions, and it's not happening. One of the things we mentioned is reported from OSINT in open source in Intel. One of the famous reporters, Christo Grozev, is saying that he expects Russia to run out of military resources today. Wow. Jesus. The sanctions are taking effect. China cannot respond quickly enough. Don't buy into it. China has never stopped backing Russia. They've been planning for this together for 8 years. They're attempting to use this as a means to get Taiwan. Don't buy into it. China is not gonna, they're being diplomatic, but they're not gonna give in. But they also can't help Russia financially, because if their banks help Russia financially, they themselves will get sanctioned, and they do not want that. So that's huge. So listen, let me bring you to our prayer points, okay? In the north, as I mentioned, there is an attempt from coming from Sumy through the Chernihiv region. They're attempting to encircle Kyiv from the west. This can't happen. This can't happen. The fact that Kyiv is pushing hard to keep out the invaders from the north, they're pressed thin there. We don't need this coming from the east, okay? So we got to stop that. That has to be stopped. Also, again, continue that army that's come from Kherson to Mykolaiv and is now turning toward Kryvyi Rih. Pray that is stopped as well. And pray for the people of Mariupol. They attempted to evacuate yesterday along the humanitarian corridor that supposedly came out of the talks. Well, guess what? As soon as they started to move, Russia started firing on them. No. Granted, it does show the insanity, the absolute I can't imagine what this is doing to the Russian soldiers, because so many of them are like, these are our brothers and sisters. Why would we do this? But at the same time, pray for the protection of the people. There's 430,000 people who are trapped in Mariupol, and many of them who are the weak and are trying to get out. So pray for them. All right, come on. Yes. Let's see. Come on. All right, food. Please pray for food. This is a key time as they're preparing to plant and everything else. If this continues and it disrupts them, we could see a massive food shortage, not just for Ukraine, but for all of Europe. Ukraine is considered the bread basket of Europe, and so this has got to stop. Pray also for the weather to continue to fight against Putin. As it gets warmer and warmer and warmer, the ground stays muddy. It tangles tanks. They have to stay on roads, and therefore they get picked off. Also, if it warms up sufficiently, that the need for oil and gas from Russia declines massively, and Europe can hopefully get free there. Pray also for the U.S. to not allow gas and fossil fuels imports from Russia. Oh, now for Russia, please pray. We talked about this yesterday. That Navalny, the only true opposition leader in Russia. He's an anti-corruption lawyer. They poisoned him. The Russian government tried to assassinate him on a flight from Siberia, and so then they attempted, while he was recovering, they were going to arrest him, but he actually went to Germany because obviously he was convinced he would be killed in a Russian hospital. He was in a coma. They finally he got healed. He flew back, and then Russia said, here he's in recovery. They said, if you don't come back, we're going to arrest you in absentia or whatever because you're on the run from the law. Well, he said, fine. And he came back, even knowing that they would arrest him and put him in prison, and they did. So please pray for him. But he is speaking out, and he's calling the people of Russia to protest today. Please pray. Please pray that the people of Russia will rise up, because on Friday they passed a law that you get 15 years in prison if you speak out against Russia in the war. So guys, listen, pray for the people of Russia to rise up in mass with the idea they cannot arrest us all. They're doing their best, but they can't if the people rise up en masse. Please pray for that. But also pray for the Russian people, because they are so confused. Their minds are so, they're brittle because they've been lied to. They've been telling them lies for 8 years straight. And now as the truth starting coming out, they're just confused. They're hurt. And listen, if they're going to rise up, they have to believe the truth. They have to understand what's actually going on. Because the economic suffering is just starting. Visa and MasterCard have pulled out of Russia. So many companies have pulled out of Russia. Russia is right now moving towards another Soviet Union. They're in total. This is the stop right here. It's got to end now, or Russia's going to end up another hermit kingdom like North Korea, totally cut off, trying to support itself on its own. This cannot happen. So now I want to move to our prayer strategies, because I've said it again. It's not enough to simply stand against the darkness. It's not, because we can't stay in that place and stay encouraged if we do. So I want to point us to our prayer strategies, okay? This is leaning into the heart of the Father, what he wants to see done. The thing that Putin has been taking advantage of, one of the characteristics of the Ukrainian people, which is disunity and rebellion, and he's been playing them against each other for years. Listen, but not anymore. They are united. They have risen up, and so pray for them to stay united and not give in to all the negative emotions of fear, fatigue, panic, or rage. Rage you think would empower you? No, it doesn't, because one of the most powerful things they've done is continue to extend kindness to Russian soldiers. And it's been amazing, because the Russian soldiers, normally you get captured, say nothing. Well, they're telling everything. The Russian soldiers are telling everything, because the love of the Ukrainian people. Pray for the protection of the weak. Pray for them. Pray that they would pray for supernatural healing for many of them. Pray for evacuations. Pray that the ceasefires are honored and the people are protected, but also pray for the refugees. Pray that families stay together. Pray that families stay connected. They're able to communicate, but also listen, don't just pray that the refugees are not taken advantage of by the human traffickers who would use this event, but pray that the human traffickers are exposed exposed, and the very people who've been partnering with them just realize the absolute barbarity of it and turn them in. That this actually breaks the back of human trafficking across Eastern Europe. Pray for the military, continue there, they have the intel and the mobilization for maximum victory and limited bloodshed. And the big one is pray for the church. The church would be united. They would rise up and unite and serve. One of the things the enemy that Putin has been trying to do is sow panic and despair. And so the church, when that happens, you have one choice: give in and die, become paralyzed, right? Run away, or rise up and push back. And we've been talking with one pastor, and they were talking about, they've had waves of panic, but you know what they said? There's a joy on them right now. They're serving in Dnipro. They're serving people, refugees as they're coming in, but they're like, as soon as these refugees are taken care of, we're headed straight to where the war is to minister to the people there. This is the kind of courage, we've got to pray for the people, the Church of Ukraine, to rise up with violent courage, joy in the face of fear, and this will break the back of the enemy. One of the things we're calling on, we've been talking with worship leaders across Russia, Ukraine, that they would begin to write war songs of the kingdom of destroying darkness, that they would create anthems that would rally the people to stand together for Christ, to stand together for peace, to stand together for breakthrough, for that all of Ukraine and all of Russia and all of Belarus would be free. Listen, it's not enough just simply for the war to stop. If the war stops as it is right now, you will lose a large portion of Ukraine for a season, and then you'll lose all of Ukraine in the future. I've said this before. Putin's desire is to destroy the Ukrainian people. He, like Stalin, is terrified of the Ukrainian people. You can talk about that another time. It's just a thing. They're terrified. They don't want the Ukrainian people. They want the Ukrainian land. Okay, the reason why there's so many Russians in Ukraine is because they were imported by Stalin. This is how it is. So pray not simply for hostilities to end, but for the absolute peaceful overthrow of Lukashenko in Belarus, Putin in Russia, and that corruption would be rooted out in Ukraine in the process as well, because corruption has been the Achilles heel throughout that entire portion of the world. But for that to happen, and this is the big prayer strategy, pray for truth. Pray that everything hidden would be revealed. One of the great things that Anonymous has been hacking through on television channels and actually getting true footage from Ukraine onto Russian TV. Come on. They've been hacking into websites, same deal. They've been getting the truth out, but that's not enough either. It's not just the truth about what's happening in Ukraine. It's the truth about what's been happening for the last 30 years, and even the truth of what happened in the Soviet Union. One of the things that's hard to understand is the truth in Russia never truly came out. Most of the things that happened in the Soviet Union, people still don't know, and they definitely don't know names and faces of what happened. At one point, 1 in 3 people in Russia were an informant under Stalin. So many people don't want the truth to come out. But listen, if you don't face the truth of your past, you can't move into the future. And that's why the same criminals who were in charge in the Soviet Union just became in charge in the free Russia. And the reality is the West partnered with the former Soviet Union, with all of these dictators who came to power. They partnered with, because it was financially advantageous to American companies, but it was also advantageous to the West to have a weakened Russia. Well, now we reap what we sow. So many in the West don't want what's going to come out, because we have to pray that the truth comes out. The archives of the KGB are in Lubyanka. That is a huge prison and office building in Moscow that needs to fall. The similar office of the Stasi secret police in East Germany fell, and that allowed the German people to mourn, right, and recover. The same thing happened in Latvia. So we've got to pray that the truth of Russia's history comes out, so that they may repent and get healed. That the people might actually move forward, but it would also root out the sick elements that are still in control throughout Russia. So please pray that the people would rise up and the truth would come out, and that the church would arise. The church would arise, not simply in passive, we're for peace, but literally would go on the war path of worship and praise and prayer, that the presence of God be manifest. I've said this over and over again. The number of miracles that are happening in the midst of war are incredible, that we will never know the fullness of it. But listen, that's a small taste. So listen, if you are wanting to pray, right? If you want to get these prayer updates, we're posting them on a webpage. I can't just keep up. We've been sending out probably hundreds of them, but you can go to ariselife.org/Ukraine. We're posting there, but we're also posting scripture resources, because if you're struggling to know how to pray or what God's purposes are in the midst of war, guess what? A large portion of the Bible takes place as supernatural breakthroughs in the midst of war. And so we've got scripture resources as well. I would recommend go to the Bible and read what God does in the midst of war. Listen, I've realized for myself, I've been reading these scriptures for years and they've never pierced my heart because I've never been in war before. This is the time. Go to the scripture. If you are, listen, don't go to CNN, go to your scriptures. Don't go to Fox News, go to your scriptures. Don't get off the internet even and go read the Bible and get his heart of what he does in the midst of war, and you will find hope. You will find joy. And when you find hope and joy, then you can pray with confidence. When we are impressed with the devil, we empower the devil. We empower whatever we're impressed with. But when we magnify the Lord, when we see him as he is, we will rise up in violent prayers and the change will happen. Your prayers are working. They are powerful. Let us continue to pray and see the breakthrough, because today is an insanely important day. Pray for Russia, for the truth to come out, for the people to rise up. Pray for Ukraine, that the weak would be protected, that people would be able to stand together against the enemy, that God would reveal the plans of the enemy. And pray for the people of Belarus to continue to rise up, to refuse to fight and throw off the bonds of oppression. We love you guys. Thank you for praying with us. And we're going to have a worship service here in an hour or so. So please, you're welcome to join us as well. We love you all. Take care.